Formula E Season 10 is done and dusted. Hello and welcome to RacingNews365.com and the last episode this weekend of Nick's Notepad. Again, I've said this weekend it'll come out Monday morning, but I'm exhausted. What an intense and thrilling season finale we had, which crowned Pascal Wehrlein as the world champion. A bit of a nightmare for Jaguar, as we'll explain in a little bit, but what a way to end the season. A showdown in London for the ages, one of the most exciting ends to a Formula E season in its 10-year history. So, the reason why we're not in the pit lane, you might be wondering, is because there's currently the D-rig going on in the pit lane. So essentially, you have all the tents are out there taking down the garages, putting the cars away. Really, I don't quite know when, because they're not going to be used again, because obviously, with the exception for show runs, given that next season's the introduction of Gen 3.5, brand new cars, faster cars, more powerful, front drive powertrain, so it's all going to change. But yeah, it's the calm after the storm somewhat. And let's just get straight into it with what's happened today. So we'll kick things off in random order. So we'll go with Mahindra. A difficult day for them after finishing 4th and 5th in Saturday's race. Eduardo Mortara retired due to a collision on the second lap. He got put into the wall and then had steering damage, which resulted in him going straight into a barrier with Jake Dennis, who also retired. Nick De Vries finished outside the points in P16. Let's go for a little bit of a walk, because we're standing still and I like walking when filming. So that was Mahindra's way. Difficult way to end the season after such a positive Saturday, but these things happen. They'll brush themselves down, go again next season, and actually they can be really pleased with their performances here this weekend. Maserati, again, Max Günther showed excellent pace, made it to the final. The duo was qualified in second. However, they both retired from the race. Max Günther and Johan Daruvala both out. Max was involved in a collision with Nick Cassidy, of all people, and Antonio Felix da Costa. Johan Daruvala had a collision with Sam Bird in the early stage of the race, and interestingly was weaving down the back straight to try and get rid of the damage. Unfortunately, it was too much though, and both drivers ended up retiring from the race. McLaren, Jake Hughes ended up finishing P10, whilst Sam Bird, Sebastian, well, he isn't driving McLaren, Sam Bird, I think he said it again. Sam Bird also DNF'd as a result of the collision with Johan Daruvala down at turn 6. A really unfortunate one, 2 into 1 just did not go, and as a result they were both out of the race. So disappointing way to end the season for Sam ERT. Sergio Sette Cameron P11, Dan Ticktum outside the top 10 as well. A difficult way for ERT to end the season. They end the season bottom of the teams and manufacturers championships. So yeah, a very difficult year for them, and they'll be looking forward to forgetting about Gen 3 in all honesty and looking forward to Gen 3.5. Apt Cupra secured, let me get my maths right, 9th in the team's championship after a very positive double points finish to end this season. Lucas Di Grassi finishing P9, Nico Müller back-to-back P6 finishes. A superb performance by the Swiss driver in what is his last race for Apt Cupra before reportedly joining Andretti, something that's not announced yet, but that is the big rumour that he's going to be replacing Norman Nato. Though speaking to Norman after the race, he believes that he'll find out what's happening with his career in Formula E in the next couple of weeks, not only in Formula E but also his career in WEC, because that could be an alternative for him should he not get a seat in Formula E for next season. Envision a double points finish. Robin Freins was able to race today after a quick trip to the hospital on Saturday following a crash which saw him hurt his wrist once again. He had an ice pack on it whenever not in the car today, but managed to take part in the race. Did really, really well, in fact, and finished 7th. Sebastian Buemi, after finishing on the podium on Saturday, backed it up with P4 on Sunday. Moving on to DS Penske. Jean-Eric Vergne, a really solid P5 to end the season. Stoffel Van Dorn, should I say, the season 8 world champion in his final race for DS, finished in P8. It's, as I mentioned, rumoured that he's off to Maserati, and that's another move that's still expected to be announced shortly. Nissan, Oliver Rowland, your race winner today. A crazy story given that he missed Portland through illness, which kind of ruled him out the championship. He did enter this weekend as an outsider, and obviously caused a crash for Antonio Felix da Costa on Saturday, yet he bounced back perfectly today to end the season on a high with a victory in his home city. And the beautiful scenes that he took his daughter up on the podium. It's very much been a family affair this weekend for several drivers, so a good end to the season for him. Sasha Fenestraz ended the year with P15, a really tough year for him where luck just hasn't been on his side. Showed good pace this weekend actually, but ultimately it's just not been a good year for him. He's another driver who does have a contract with Nissan for next season, but there are performance clauses in the deal which mean Nissan could, if they wanted to, activate one of them to get rid of him. However, I'm expecting him to stay with the team. He's a very fast driver, he's a young driver, he's been backed by Nissan for many years, and to my mind, getting rid of him wouldn't make sense given the talent he has. Andretti, as I mentioned, Jake Dennis ended his stint as the reigning world champion with a retirement, a very difficult weekend for him. He was blamed for the incident with Eduardo Mortara and received a 5-second time penalty, meaning that across the London E-Prix, he received 25 seconds worth of penalties. There are some drivers this year who haven't received that across the entire season. He's done that in one weekend. He is a driver looking forward to forgetting about season 10 and looking ahead to season 11 and Gen 3.5. Norman Nato in what could be, and is most likely his last race for Andretti, finished outside the points. So a disappointing way to potentially end his career or his one-year stint as an Andretti driver. Now, the business end. Jaguar. Nick Cassidy started the race on pole, having missed FP3 following a brake-by-wire failure. Was furious with the team, but managed to bring it back in qualifying. Labelled his performance as the greatest job he has ever done in Formula E. It was a sensational job which saw him start on pole and claim 3 points, meaning he was only 4 points behind Pascal Wehrlein going into the final race of the season. He led the opening stages brilliantly and actually got both his attack modes activated and done and dusted in the opening stages. He sat in third for a lot of the race in the second half behind Mitch Evans and Pascal Wehrlein, who left it until the very end to activate their attack modes, and we'll speak about that in a second as well. Nick was sitting in third, right behind Pascal and Mitch, with more energy. Looked like he was going to overtake them when Mitch and Pascal would activate their attack modes and claim the World Championship. However, he was tagged by Antonio Felix da Costa, Pascal Wehrlein's teammate of all people, causing a rear puncture, ending his title hopes. He pitted for repairs. It was a horrible and sad way for him to end what has been an incredible first season with Jaguar TCS Racing, and really sad as well, because the last thing we wanted was for a title contender to be taken out of the title fight due to an accident out of their control, and that's exactly what happened. He was distraught after the race, but I'm certain he's going to brush himself down, realise he's had an amazing year, and come back next season even stronger. Mitch Evans, what to say about Mitch? Led almost the entirety of the second half of the race, activated his first attack mode late on, no problem, went to activate his second, but missed the middle activation loop. That effectively saw him give up position to Pascal Wehrlein, who successfully activated his second attack mode. Mitch also had an energy deficit compared to Pascal, and ultimately when Mitch eventually managed to activate it, he ended up finishing third. He was incredibly downbeat, not happy with Jaguar, and believed that they hadn't managed the situation correctly. That overhead is a plane, given that we are right next door to London City Airport. Yeah, it's a loud one, and it's getting very dark very quickly. So Jaguar do pick up, though, the team's championship for the first time. And the manufacturers, that's something that happened post-race with Antonio Felix da Costa receiving a 5-second time penalty for being judged as causing a collision with Nick Cassidy. Had that not been the case, then Antonio would have actually finished in P5. So, disappointing for him. But then, the world champion, Pascal Wehrlein, did the job on Saturday by winning the opening race of the weekend. Finished second on Sunday, which was enough, with Evans finishing third and Nick Cassidy retiring from the race to claim the Formula E World Championship, the first Porsche-powered driver to claim a Formula E title, and he ultimately deserves it. At the end of the day, he was there when it mattered most, and he was basically the best performing driver across both races in London. in what has been a difficult year for him in a way. He had a bit of a dip mid-season, started emphatically in Mexico City with a huge win, but ultimately leaves as the world champion. It has been a long weekend, a grueling weekend, but an enthralling one. For those who've been watching Nick's Notepad and have been tuning into all of the Formula E content on RacingNews365.com this season, thank you so much, and please be sure to do so over the upcoming summer, where it will be all big stories, more videos, and more content. Be sure to tune in for next season as well. My name's been Nick Golding. This has been Nick's Notepad. I'll see you next time. See you later.